Welcome back, story lovers, to Extreme Highlights Audio Novels, your premier destination for the most captivating tales from the world of web novels. Whether you're diving into a cultivation realm, unraveling a system apocalypse, or getting lost in a romantic fantasy, we are here to bring those words to life. Our goal is to share the excitement of these incredible stories with you, wherever you are. However, it is so important to remember that the magic starts with the authors. These worlds exist because of their hard work and creativity. If a story truly speaks to you, I highly encourage you to go the extra mile. Search for the novel on its official platform, like Webnovel, World, or others, and support the original author. Read the chapters, drop a power stone, or leave a review. It makes a huge difference in their lives. Now, if you want to help us continue bringing you these narrations every week, the best support you can give is right here on YouTube. Please take a moment to hit that subscribe button and join the Extreme family. Leave your thoughts in the comments. I love hearing your theories. And give this video a like so more fans can discover these hidden gems. Catastrophic Necromancer. Chapter 43-58. Hope is right ahead. Xuan Dragon Python and his three subordinates did not know that the trillion undead thralls before them were not even a tenth of the total number. Chaos was vast, with countless Chaos Realm powerhouses. Across the whole of Chaos, not to mention a trillion at Chaos Lesser Completion, even a trillion at Chaos Greater Completion would not be beyond imagination. But precisely because Chaos was so vast, such powerhouses were scattered everywhere. Gathering a trillion in one place was nearly impossible. Even in cross-domain wars, when vast numbers appeared on the battlefield, they were spread across the entire warfront, not concentrated into a single mass. With so many enemies, even killing them all would take a very long time. The void-breaking formation roared at full strength, the wings of chaos beat faster, and space was shredded into pulp once more. By the cadence of the ancestor's aura, Lin Moyu judged that Xuan Dragon Python's wounds were not fully healed, and his domain was already on the brink of collapse. 2 activations of the domain treasure had consumed a huge amount of domain power. If he used it once more, the domain would certainly shatter. Once the domain collapsed, he would fall from full completion, perhaps even below Chaos Greater Completion. For Xuan Dragon Python, this was already a back-to-the-wall battle with no retreat left. Which made things simple. Lin Moyu had many ways to kill him. The simplest, let the undead thralls pin them while the soul-severing needle recovered. In half a day, the needle would be ready. Then, the ancestor would die. Beyond the needle, there was still the catastrophic scepter. Killing Xuan Dragon Python simply wasn't difficult. In Lin Moyu's eyes, the ancestor's earlier mistake had cost him his one chance to escape. The undead thralls surged forward, encircling Xuan Dragon Python and his 3 lieutenants. A wounded full completion and 3 Chaos Greater Completions, fearsome indeed. The undead thralls were no match head-to-head and died by the legion. But upon death, they returned not reviving on the field, but instantly replaced by new summons the next second, maintaining a constant total of 1 trillion. Thus, they were a tide that could not be exhausted. No matter how many were slain, the number never dwindled. Facing such a sea, there was no breaking out. Deprived of spatial traversal, they were turtles trapped in a jar. Would Xuan Dragon Python regret it? Perhaps, but it no longer mattered. The choice had been made. Time bled by, the battle never paused. The ancestor and his followers repeatedly tried to punch a hole through the encirclement. At first, Xuan Dragon Python aimed to kill Lin Moyu. His charges were all in Lin Moyu's direction. Lin Moyu retreated continuously. Since the void-breaking formation had been refined into a disc, it came with a benefit. It could move. So as Lin Moyu fell back, he also shifted the formation with him. The ancestors' group simply could not escape its coverage. Unless they outpaced the formation's movement, any attempt to break free was futile. Time left to them was short. Half a day passed swiftly enough for the soul-severing needle to shine once more. Two choices presented themselves: strike Xuan Dragon Python directly, or kill one of the three greater completion lieutenants. Killing the ancestor wasn't guaranteed. The needle would most likely grievously wound him again, as he had already recovered somewhat. Killing a lieutenant was certain, then use that corpse to kill the other two, as before. That could net two greater completion corpses to turn against the ancestor. Even two greater completion corpse detonations might not be enough to kill Xuan Dragon Python. Revive them as undead and force self-detonations, likely the same result. Also, Lin Moyu preferred not to expend those three corpses. They might be more valuable later. His thoughts snapped to conclusion: target the ancestor. The needle flashed. It ignored the chaotic space and appeared before Xuan Dragon Python in a way Lin Moyu could not comprehend, darting straight for his soul. Sensing the danger, the ancestor faced the same impossible dilemma as before: no way to dodge, no way to block. He could only brace his soul and take it head-on. A scream tore the void. His aura plunged, wounded and wounded again. He was the linchpin. Injured, the breakout faltered immediately. Despair draped the four. At this rate, there was no hope. Suddenly, the undead encirclement seemed to loosen. The pressure lessened. A looser net meant fewer undead were pressing them, meaning a greater chance to break through. Freshly wounded, the ancestor nonetheless felt a faint flicker of hope. The needle slipped silently back into Lin Moyu's hand and was hidden away at once. Lin Moyu also withdrew quickly, putting great distance between them. He knew the situation had reached the razor's edge. The ancestor still had one final option: self-detonation. The self-detonation of a full completion would be catastrophic. Even a trillion undead might be buried with him. If Lin Moyu were within the blast range, he might die dozens or hundreds of times. There was no need to suffer that. There was another reason to hide the needle. Its presence might provoke the ancestor into detonating himself. So Lin Moyu deliberately relaxed the noose, giving the illusion that the undead pressure had weakened and that a breakout might be possible. He hid the needle and staged the retreat. He did not expect to trick the ancestor entirely, only to delay him. He needed only a little time. Half a day would do. And it worked. With hope in his chest, the ancestor did not self-detonate. He, with his men, pressed on for the breakout despite heavy wounds. Their speed grew. The undead died in droves. The number seemed to thin quickly. Gradually, Lin Moyu, who had kept his distance, came back into their sights. Seeing him again, the ancestor's killing intent surged. Dragon roars shook the void as he charged straight at Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu cooperated, putting on a mask of panic. He retreated quickly. This time, the formation disk's speed seemed not quite enough to keep pace with his withdrawal. The ancestor felt the calm, orderly space beyond the formation's edge. If he could just cross that boundary, he would be a dragon in the sea, free to roam chaos. Even if Lin Moyu wasn't slain today, he could recover and return to settle accounts later. For a full completion, a few million years was a trifle. Push harder. Once we're out, we're safe, the ancestor growled. As you command, the three chorused, hope flashing in their eyes. Their pace quickened. Lin Moyu backed away. The formation disk lagged just a bit, bringing the escape point closer and closer. Hope swelled. Success drew near. At last, half a day later, they reached the formation's edge. Lin Moyu was not far off. Once they stepped beyond the array, Xuan Dragon Python would strike him down at once. Revenge could wait, but if opportunity presented itself, why not seize it? Then he saw Lin Moyu's smile and a silver needle in his hand. The silver needle flashed. Drabbed. A glacial chill rose from the depths of his soul. Too late. Chapter 43:59, Beyond Estimate. Corpse Explosion. The soul-severing needle's third strike almost buried Xuan Dragon Python's final hope. His soul annihilated, the ancestor who had still been struggling a moment before now drifted silently in the chaotic void. His three lieutenants sensed the ancestors passing and howled in grief together. Not only they within hundreds of millions of lei, chaos itself boiled. Gales screamed, chaos kai collided and thundered unceasingly as if the heavens mourned the fallen. The fall of a full completion powerhouse was rare in chaos. Their standing was second only to Supremes. Chaos favored them, bound to them by countless threads. When Xuan Dragon Python fell, the power he bore from chaos rapidly dispersed and returned to chaos. Especially his domain, on the spot it overturned and shattered. The domain phantom splintered into countless fragments, meaning the true domain did as well. Lin Moyu watched and noticed the domain did not utterly vanish. Unlike its master, the domain did not cease with him. Once he died, the masterless domain shattered into myriad fragments that flew to the four winds and hid within chaos. Those shards brimmed with vitality. In chaos, they would gestate anew. Perhaps after tens of millions of years, they would coalesce into a fresh domain, birthing innumerable living things. This is the cycle of domains. Lin Moyu gained a hint of understanding. To chaos, a domain was just another being, having its own cycle of rebirth. Watching it, he faintly sensed certain supreme truths of heaven and earth, yet too hazy still to grasp. If ever becoming a supreme, equal to the catastrophic supremes level, perhaps then the true logic could be understood. Amid the lament for a fallen full completion, the battle did not halt. The undead thralls continued their bombardment of the three chaos greater completion dragon pythons. They fought back through grief, their strength even higher than before. But no matter how their power surged, they could not escape. Lin Moyu took note, puzzled. Little Peng, why? Little Peng answered, most chaos-born races have a passive trait we call bloodline reversion. Put simply, imagine the bloodline's total strength is conserved across a race. As the number of members grows, that strength dilutes, each individual receives a thinner share. Of course, the total isn't constant forever. As more members, especially powerhouses, emerge, the sum slowly rises. Now the ancestor has died, he was full completion. After his death, the freed share of bloodline power is redistributed among the race. The stronger the member, the greater the share they receive. Lin Moyu was surprised. So the dragon python race should all know a full completion among them has fallen. Little Peng said, more precisely, their own full completions would sense that a peer has fallen. But they wouldn't know exactly who unless their race possessed a bloodline communication, ability to transmit information instantaneously. Such races are rare. That ability is exceedingly difficult. Lin Moyu nodded. Bloodline communication, ignoring distance to speak through shared lineage, was terrifyingly potent. Even Supremes might not do it. Naturally, it was rare. He mused, by that logic, if any dragon python is one step from full completion, they could leap across by seizing this moment. In theory, yes, Little Peng replied. Lin Moyu recalled a saying, when a whale falls, myriad lives arise. The fall of a full completion might actually invigorate the eastern extreme dragon python race, perhaps not wholly a bad thing. In that case, let's add a marker for the graveyard. He tapped a finger. The undead thralls withdrew wildly, opening a vast void, and Xuan Dragon Python's body turned to dust and dispersed. Boom! A colossal detonation shook chaos for billions of li. Using a full completion body as the material for corpse explosion unleashed power beyond Lin Moyu's imagination. His void-breaking formation was shredded instantly. Space was torn limb, from surface to deepest layers, every inch ripped apart. The sprites hidden within space did not escape, they perished with it. Fortunately, being of one root with the elemental lick, so long as Lin Moyu lived, they would not truly die. Death to them was only a return soon reborn in the wings of chaos. Not only them, the instigator himself did not escape. The vast force gave him no chance to run. Lin Moyu was blown to pieces in the blast as well. Luckily, he reacted fast. The instant the blast began, he sensed wrongness and first of all sheltered Little Peng. He could resurrect, Little Peng could not. Death would be death. The three Chaos, Greater Completion, Dragon Python's primary targets were the first to be killed. Purple light flickered. Lin Moyu resurrected instantly. Without waiting for his body to fully reform, the undying fire flew out to cover a massive area. The blast's force still raged, the undying fire wavering within it, yet it seized the flesh fragments left by the three dragon pythons, converting them into reborn. Within the explosion, Lin Moyu underwent 3 consecutive rebirths before stabilizing. He gazed upon the shattered, slowly mending space, eyes deep with shock. He had not imagined that using a full completion for corpse explosion would reach such might. Even a full completion's full-strength strike could not be this strong, no, nor could their self-detonation. Yet in corpse explosion, the destructive force exceeded a full completion's self-detonation by dozens, even hundreds of times. Why is this? He pondered as space recovered. The undying fire burned bright. The 3 dragon pythons, newly dead, were reassembling bodies, advancing toward rebirth as undead. Lin Moyu had chosen to kill Xuan dragon python precisely to preserve these 3. They might help locate other fragments of the cross-domain grand array. To him, they were more valuable than the ancestor. After a moment's thought, sudden insight, he realized the reason. Corpse explosions seemed to ignite only the ancestor's body, but it wasn't just the body. It was the domain as well. A domain is a full completion's foundation. In corpse explosion, the domain's power and the powerhouse's power were one. So when detonating a full completion, the domain's power was counted too. And how strong is a domain? A vast world of its own, with unnumbered living things. Thus erupted such staggering force. It seems full completions are indeed on another level. Lin Moyu exhaled softly. Space had now mostly mended. 3 brand new undead knelt reverently before him, awaiting his command. Chapter 4360, A Terrifying Eerie Will. The 3 Chaos, Greater Completion, Eastern Extreme Dragon Pythons opened a spatial passage, carrying Lin Moyu and Little Peng swiftly through the chaotic void. More precisely, they were carrying Little Peng across space. Lin Moyu simply sat upon Little Peng's head. With innate spatial gifts, the dragon pythons were incredibly fast, each traversal spanning billions of li, far outstripping Lin Moyu's own speed. Just as Lin Moyu had expected, the reason these 3 had not come earlier was because they too had found fragments of the cross-domain grand array after it was shattered. But when Xuan dragon python forcefully used his domain treasure to summon them, they were compelled to come. Their race's structure allowed no defiance of the ancestors' order. After Xuan dragon python was killed, they became undead, reborn, obediently guiding Lin Moyu to the fragments. Little Peng still trembled at the memory. That explosion just now was too terrifying. I felt like it was nearly at the level of a supreme. Lin Moyu shook his head. Far from it, not even a fraction of a supreme's true might. He had never personally witnessed a supreme strike, but the images left by the catastrophic supreme were enough to analyze the difference. The blast had shattered billions of li of chaotic void. It seemed strong, but compared to a supreme, it was worlds apart. And even that was only the tip of the iceberg. Without becoming a supreme, one could hardly fathom their terror. He muttered, according to them, the 3 fragments they found are all small. The largest one's whereabouts remain unknown. When the grand array shattered, it split into 5, 4 small, 1 large. The large piece was the true core. All 4 small fragments combined were still inferior to the 1 large core, but that largest piece had vanished. Little Peng said, "Even if I don't know how to find it, Father must have a way." "There is a way, but first those three must be collected." The best tool was the cause-seeking ring, but with 4 fragments in play, its guidance would scatter. Only by first collecting 3 could the ring be used to point to the last. Even so, Lin Moyu felt uneasy. Things were likely not so simple. That last piece would be hard to find. And after finding it, it must be repaired, no small task. He was confident he could do it, but time would be long. He had other business in the eastern extreme. Were it not related to his route home, he would not wish to spend so long on this. In truth, this would be far simpler if a Supreme intervened. With their ability, locating and repairing would be trivial, but for so many years, no Supreme had done it. Why? A day later, after an unknown distance, they finally saw a remnant of the cross-domain array in the endless Chaos Kai. This fragment was slightly larger than the one he had secured. Chaos Kai cloaked it, and within the Kai, many dragon pythons circled, greedily siphoning power from the array. Because the grand array was broken, power leaked through many gaps. Otherwise, such pythons would never have been able to truly shake it. Seeing their chieftain return, the dragon pythons cried out in excitement. "Kill them all!" With Lin Moyu's order, the 3 greater completion dragon pythons charged with overwhelming killing intent. Lin Moyu also produced a new void-breaking formation disc. The previous had been destroyed. This one was newly refined, a little stronger than before. The wings of chaos vibrated. Countless sprites flew out again, making space even more chaotic. No matter the enemy, Lin Moyu would never grow careless, never give a chance. Under the slaughter of the 3 greater completions, the 100+ dragon pythons here had no survivors. They died without understanding why their own chieftains killed them. But it no longer mattered. They were soon reborn as undead, becoming Lin Moyu's servants. Next was refining the remnant array. For others, a complex and arduous process. For Lin Moyu, a pleasure and a lesson. Through it, he could study a Supreme's formation path. Even a non-specialist Supreme's understanding outstripped his own. As it is said, master one method, and all others become easier. As with him now, learning new arts, simple spells came to hand effortlessly. Yet gradually, he sensed something wrong. His brows knit. Why are there traces of him? Within the remnants, he saw the Catastrophic Supreme's formation style. The Catastrophic Supreme had fallen ages ago, time uncountable, and back then, Tao erased all traces of that Supreme. But every person's formation hand is unique. Even if one tried to imitate, it would always be merely similar, never true. Lin Moyu was certain parts of this fragment were arranged by the Catastrophic Supreme. So the Catastrophic Supreme's formation back then was not destroyed by Tao, but remained until now. He pondered, unease rising. The past was not quite as he had imagined. He slowly closed his eyes, dredging every memory, threading what he knew together for analysis. Gradually, a thread appeared, a possibility formed. "Father, are you all right?" The voice echoed in his soul Little Peng's concern. Lin Moyu opened his eyes to see Little Peng's worried stare. "Nothing, just thinking too deep." "Oh, it's just your soul fluctuations were strange." Strange soul fluctuations. A sense of wrongness. Why would his soul tremble? Was it simply deep thought? He tapped a finger. A domain phantom bloomed behind him. The time great Tao flowed out, reversing time within a very small area. He could not rewind large areas, but covering himself posed no problem. In the stream of time, he saw himself with eyes closed, brows locked, occasionally a flicker of pain. Pain, when had he felt pain? His expression tightened on guard, as if against a mortal foe. He knew this state, it was not normal. His face changed, the rewind halted. Not by his choice, the flow simply ended there. A chill rose from his soul, cold sweat beading his skin. Little Peng stared blankly, clueless. Only Lin Moyu knew the cause, and it could not be spoken aloud. When he had been thinking before, someone had come, or rather some will had arrived. This being was absurdly strong. When it came, he sensed it, but it pressed his mind down. Then, afterwards, it erased that section of time, leaving him with no awareness upon waking. Such an existence was too terrifying. Lin Moyu felt it was at least a supreme, and perhaps even Tao itself. Chapter 43, 61, as if crossing blades with a supreme. Whether a supreme or Tao, neither boded well for Lin Moyu, neither was something he could provoke. Yet something felt off. By rights, it shouldn't be either of them. If not one of those two, then who? Who else could accomplish something like that? No answer came. Whoever did it clearly didn't want him to know. If he insisted on guessing, the outcome might be bad. But without an answer, being watched without knowing by whom or from where gnawed at him. A vague conclusion took shape. It likely was Tao. Such a method didn't fit Tao's stature. Forget him, even a heavenly supreme like Tiandi would be a gesture away from death under Tao. Lin Moyu was nothing. If Tao suspected him, erasure would be immediate. No tests, no erasing traces afterward. That would be pointless. Then the other possibility, a heavenly supreme, most likely the eastern extremes. But would a heavenly supreme bother with something so petty? Unless this particular heavenly supreme had an odd penchant, it seemed unlikely. Of course, there could be special reasons, or it wasn't the eastern extreme, heavenly supreme at all. No point thinking it to death. Maybe one day the answer will reveal itself. After a long stretch of fruitless thought, Lin Moyu let it go. By now he had nearly finished refining the formation, and his comprehension of formation Tao had climbed higher still. He felt himself ascending the peak of arrays, though not a formation cultivator. He had already surpassed many who were. Half a month later, the broken array was fully refined and stored into a formation disk. The dragon pythons tore open the void to search for the next remnant. This time it was farther. A 10-day flight brought them to the third fragment, similar in scale to the previous two. Lin Moyu repeated the process, comprehend and refine. This fragment bore no traces of the catastrophic supreme, but Lin Moyu still gleaned more about formations. Across 3 remnants, he faintly grasped a sliver of a supreme's formation thought. Every formation master has a style. The 3 remnants' styles were similar, but not identical. Why? Because the cross-domain grand array wasn't laid by one supreme's hands alone. The supreme provided the design. Many formation masters performed the actual laying. Thus similarity, yet difference. Lin Moyu could feel the distinctions clearly, but still could not explain why the second remnant carried traces of the catastrophic supreme. They set out to find the 4th fragment. This one was far and still receding. Even with non-stop crossings, it took nearly a month to catch up. Thanks to the dragon python's space talent, if it had been Lin Moyu flying himself, it might have taken centuries. The 4th fragment was the largest among the 4 and the best preserved, almost untouched. Even besieged by hundreds of dragon pythons, it suffered no added harm, nor could they stop it drifting away. Because this fragment contained a complete defensive formation that enveloped and carried it along. That complicated things. Lin Moyu could not enter the array. Even with 3 greater completion dragon pythons going all out, they could only slow it slightly. So Lin Moyu watched from afar, studying the array. He had to crack the defensive formation. Without that, he couldn't get close. It had been designed by a supreme. It would not be easy. But the more difficult, the more it stirred his will to win. Cracking a supreme's formation felt like crossing blades, with a supreme across time and space. A supreme is the ultimate goal of countless cultivators in chaos, and the realm Lin Moyu himself would one day challenge. How could he not be excited? He shadowed the fragment for a full 3 years, before finding a path to break it. Chaos runes streamed out. When they touched the defense, they slipped in without resistance. What he drew and what the defense was became nearly one. His imitation reached at least 90% fidelity. Over those 3 years, he imagined himself as the original array master, retracing the Supreme's formation logic, reverse deducing a solution. Hundreds of runes later, Lin Moyu slipped into the role of master of the defense. With a single step, he entered the array. The hardest part was done, the rest would be easy. With experience from 3 fragments and 3 years of study, he essentially understood the Supreme's array logic. In just a few days, this fragment was under full control. Next came refining a simple matter for him. He forged a disk and took the fragment in. Finally done, hopefully the cross-domain array split into only 5, not more. After a vast expenditure of time, all 4 post-shatter fragments were his. If the grand array had shattered into no more than 5, the cause-seeking ring could now find the last. He took out the ring, soul force surged and activated it. Effect without cause, locate the cross-domain grand array from the central domain, now in the eastern extreme. He gave the fullest criteria. Through omnipresent causality, the ring would pinpoint it. Because it was tied to a Supreme, the backlash remained immense. Lin Moyu exploded on the spot, unable to bear it. He was used to it, purple light leapt, he was reborn again and again. When he had first arrived in the eastern extreme, he used the ring and locked onto the smallest of the 4 fragments and died 10 times. By deaths alone, he could gauge the fragment's scale. Through repeated use, he'd accumulated experience. More than 10 deaths, 80% confidence. More than 20-90%. This time, he died 36 times before stabilizing, which meant the target now should be the core body of the grand array. He put away the ring and casually chose a direction. With causality anchoring, any direction he chose would be the direction causality demanded. It could not be wrong. He sent a mental order to the dragon pythons, head that way. They immediately opened a passage, crossing billions of lei at a time. After a full month, space suddenly roiled. An invisible force surged, forcibly cutting off the dragon python's space talent. A vast power blew like a gale in his face. Lin Moyu's expression shifted, pupils narrowing, as a colossal formation rose into view. Chapter 43-62, The Primordial Worm. The cross-domain grand array had split into 5. The central core region wasn't completely shattered, at least 2/3 were preserved. The other third was split into 4 fragments, all of which Lin Moyu had now found. Now that the core remnant was found, Lin Moyu finally let out a sigh of relief. At that moment, Little Peng's voice suddenly sounded in his ear. How come those guys are here? Lin Moyu was surprised. Who? Little Peng pointed into the array. Right there, the primordial worms. Primordial worms. Lin Moyu had never heard of such creatures. He followed Little Peng's gaze and saw, at one edge of the formation, thousands of massive worms sprawled across part of the array. The grand array's defense system was still operating, forming a faint blue barrier of spatial power. The primordial worms lay on the barrier, yet the defense seemed completely unaware of their existence and did nothing to resist. Lin Moyu could faintly sense the primordial worms were absorbing the formation's power. The primordial worms were large, hideous, and grotesque. Their bodies were covered with grooves, from which grayish pus dripped constantly, creating a revolting sight. Lin Moyu asked, "What are primordial worms? Judging by your tone, you seem to dislike them." Little Peng replied, "Primordial worms are a very unusual life form. They usually live at the border between the ancient wilds and chaos, possessing traits of both environments. You see them often in those edges. They almost never leave the border zones, so it's odd seeing them here. I dislike them because their appearance and abilities are just so disgusting." They're ugly, and the pus that oozes from their bodies is extremely toxic, a unique poison. If it touches a treasure, it pollutes it. If it touches a life form, it drains their power and lowers their realm. Ancient bloodline records state this pus contains a supremely primordial force that affects all DAOs in chaos. Nothing is immune. These guys are incredibly hard to kill, extremely hard. Lin Moyu watched as the pus from the worms seeped silently into the array, weakening the array little by little. Fortunately, the formation itself was exceptionally strong. Though polluted by the primordial worm's essence, it could quickly recover itself. The only oddity: this place wasn't near the ancient wild's border. Primordial worms shouldn't have appeared here. Did someone bring them? Did the shattering of the cross-domain array have anything to do with them? Lin Moyu doubted the worms caused the grand array's destruction. Even if they had the strength, the eastern extreme dragon pythons would have said something. They'd hide nothing. So the primordial worms must have come only after the array was broken. But how? For now, it was a mystery. This remnant array was vast, over 10 million li in diameter, not as large as the one at Lin Dingcheng in the central domain, but still astonishing. Even so vast, the thousands of primordial worms clustered in just one small area, not spread out. That meant something in that region was attracting them, but this yielded no answer. Lin Moyu knew full well he was still a newcomer to chaos. He knew far less than Little Peng. With so many unknowns, it was hard to get the right answers. He kept adjusting to the new environment as Little Peng continued listing characteristics of the primordial worms, making their threat level seem ever higher. Not only Little Peng, almost all chaos dwellers hated primordial worms. They were too nasty and troublesome, but the main reason was how hard they were to kill. Primordial worms are a special kind of twin-born creature. With every worm's birth comes an egg hidden away. As long as the egg isn't destroyed, the worm won't truly die. Even if killed, it can quickly resurrect from the egg, losing little strength. After revival, it produces another egg. If you destroy the egg first, they'll instantly make a new one, no effect. In other words, they fear nothing, not death, not extermination. To truly kill one, you must find and destroy its egg before it hatches. But they hide their eggs with great skill, often secreted away in the ancient wilds, nearly impossible to find. As expected, every species that survives in chaos has extreme ways to survive. But by your explanation, since they live on the border between chaos and the ancient wilds and don't interact with chaos beings, their ugliness is their own business. Why do you all hate them so much? Lin Moyu pressed. Little Peng answered, because of our ancestors. One of them, while exploring the ancient wilds, finally found a powerful artifact, but it had already been polluted by a primordial worm. Our ancestor didn't notice, so when refining it, his bloodline was also tainted. Fortunately, he realized in time. After instilling the memory in our bloodline, he chose to cut his own lineage, or the whole race might have been ruined. Another ancestor was attacked by primordial worms while exploring the ancient wilds. The reason was the previous ancestor, after cutting the bloodline, killed masses of worms, earning their eternal grudge. Lin Moyu understood. So their pus is that potent it can even pollute bloodlines. Little Peng said, primordial worms have ranks too. The strongest reach full completion with all sorts of strange powers. Lin Moyu guessed other chaos species hated them for similar reasons. Few things are so hated as creatures capable of tainting entire racial bloodlines. Bloodlines are valued above life itself. Now fully aware of the primordial worm's threat, Lin Moyu commanded. The undead dragon python force charged in. They numbered only a few hundred, but with 3 at chaos greater completion, their battle power was high. The primordial worms numbered in the tens of thousands, but the strongest was only chaos lesser completion, no match for the undead. The dragon pythons used their spatial talent. Blinking right beside the worms, a great battle erupted. Wave upon wave of attacks fell upon the primordial worms and the array itself. The dormant cross, Domain Grand Array instantly activated, unleashing tremendous power. The defensive array was not just for defense, it could attack. The array's forces lashed out at the undead dragon pythons, sandwiching the primordial worms in between. In the onslaught, huge numbers of primordial worms were obliterated, ugly bodies blasted to pieces, spraying in all directions. Wherever pus splattered, the void fractured. Some chaos kai that touched the pus instantly dissolved, while some changed color warped beyond recognition. Even the Tao hidden in the chaos kai was instantly polluted. Little Peng shouted in alarm, "That's their power. Even the Tao in chaos kai can be corrupted." Bang! One worm exploded, a glob of pus shot through the void, straight at Lin Moyu. "Father, dodge!" Little Peng shouted anxiously. Chapter 43:63, The Extraordinary World Burning Fire. Little Peng looked tense, but he did not try to escape, because Lin Moyu did not move. Naturally, he would not either. This showed how much Little Peng trusted Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu waved his hand, unleashing a surging power of death that formed a thick barrier. Centered on Lin Moyu, a region several hundred li wide was saturated with dense death power, which could corrode all energies. Lin Moyu trusted even the primordial worms, pus would be no exception. Death power spread as a barrier. The pus slammed into this force, immediately producing thick black smoke. Just as Lin Moyu anticipated, death power could corrode all forms of power. The flying pus struck the barrier, exploding instantly, and within tens of thousands of li around, a revolting stench filled the air. The odor ignored all spatial barriers and penetrated straight to the soul. The death power could only partly weaken it, unable to block it entirely. Little Peng called out, "Father, even the smell is poisonous." Indeed, the stench was poisonous. A few breaths were tolerable, but if inhaled too much, one's soul would become tainted, causing a drop in strength and cultivation realm. Moreover, this drop wasn't temporary, but persistent, even harming the very foundation. This was why so many cultivators detested fighting primordial worms. Even if they won, they inevitably suffered some damage. Lin Moyu's mind stirred, and the world-burning fire blazed forth, fusing into the barrier. Flames surrounded him, burning away all traces of the stench. Nothing was left. The combination of death power and the world-burning fire entirely blocked the primordial worms, pus, neutralizing their most fearsome trick. Little Peng cried excitedly, "Father, you're amazing." Lin Moyu smiled faintly. He felt the feedback from the death power and the world-burning fire, methodically extracting and tracking the subtle power hidden amidst the pus. Gradually, he discovered that there was indeed a faint, extremely subtle force hidden in the pus, what Little Peng called primordial power. This power was minute and inconspicuous, yet infused every corner of the pus and every wisp of its stench. The death power barrier found it almost impossible to erase this aura, and in the end could not stop its incursion. But this tiny strength turned out to be the source of the worm's toxicity. After all, death power belonged to the great Tao, but the primordial worms could corrupt even the great Tao itself, so death power was unable to deal with them. This showed that this trace of primordial force truly stepped above the Tao. However, the world-burning fire. Lin Moyu realized how extraordinary the world-burning fire was. Even power that death power could not touch, the primordial force, was utterly consumed by the world-burning fire. The world-burning fire was truly beyond ordinary. The fire originated from the mysterious master of the great world. To this day, Lin Moyu still did not know that person's identity or origin. The world-burning fire bequeathed to him had not yet reached its full potential, nor had Lin Moyu unlocked all its abilities. It now appeared that the world-burning fire's level was even higher than he imagined. Perhaps it too was a force that surpassed the Tao. This realization suggested the mysterious master's identity must be even more extraordinary, and certainly not just a heavenly venerable of any world. So even here is a part of a greater scheme. Just who are you? From small world to great world, from the origin continent to now the chaos, Lin Moyu felt he was always trapped within someone's web. It seemed like the Catastrophic Supreme had arranged everything to oppose Tao, and Lin Moyu was even said to be the Supreme's reincarnation. Yet, there felt to be something still amiss. The Catastrophic Supreme once said, "You are me, and yet not me." Pondering this, Lin Moyu sensed it contained a deeper meaning. Looking toward the battlefield, the battle was ending. Nearly all primordial worms were slain, most not by the dragon pythons, but by the cross-domain array. Gobs of pus and an indescribable stench filled the area. Lin Moyu noted a problem, murmuring, "Even the reborn ones cannot escape." This stench carried primordial force. To the dragon pythons, it was truly harmful. Their power had dropped significantly. Even the three greater performance ones were almost downgraded. Even as reborn, with unchanged bloodlines, their power still plummeted due to the pollution. Lin Moyu tried, having some reborn die and revive, but their strength did not return. Pollution causes irreversible loss. Even death doesn't reset it. And what about the undead thralls? He summoned an undead thrall, letting it encounter the pus. Direct contact caused faster, worse pollution than just breathing in the smell. The thrall, already just half-step chaos, lost power until it regressed to eternal, Chinese letter. Once withdrawn and revived, it remained at eternal, never returning to half-step chaos. What a miraculous power! Lin Moyu marveled that even the undead could not escape the primordial force's influence. No wonder the worms were so dreaded. He drew back the thrall, noting that once it returned to a normal chaotic zone, it slowly recovered. He sensed a lingering pollution, which tried to spread, but the power of chaos dulled it until it vanished. If the pollution was stronger, perhaps all undead thralls would eventually be affected. That would weaken Lin Moyu's spells. The worms' contamination damaged not only the Tao itself, but also techniques. Formidable indeed. Lin Moyu was glad he hadn't let his thralls fight in the first place, a wise decision. The war dragged on half an hour before the last of the worms were killed, but the chaotic region was polluted, stinking, and littered with pus. The reborn force was nearly crippled. The three greater completion dragon pythons were shaken down almost to lesser completion, unable to recover. Their bloodlines had been polluted. Whether this could affect the entire race, Lin Moyu did not know, nor did the now reborn pythons. But it didn't matter. If trouble came, it was the worm's doing, not his problem. The domain array was awash with foul pus. Lin Moyu had meant to burn it away with the world-burning fire, but hesitated. These things could be put to unexpected use. The pus was terrifying poison, an excellent choice for harming enemies. It would be a waste to burn it all. He decided to store it. Ordinary treasures wouldn't do. Best was using an array for which Lin Moyu had exceptional talent. Chapter 43-64, Testing Tao. The primordial force within the worm's pus carried a deadly toxicity, able to pollute all things and all Taos, but the existence of the cross-domain grand array provided Lin Moyu with a feasible method, using formation arrays to resist this primordial force. Lin Moyu did not understand why arrays could block it after all. Arrays are themselves part of the Tao. But fact is, it worked, though the reason escaped him. Maybe his own cultivation and understanding of arrays was still lacking, yet this did not prevent him from setting up formations. Using the cross-domain grand array as a template, Lin Moyu designed a reverse defensive array. Ordinary defensive arrays resist external attack, but Lin Moyu was designed to guard against internal assault. The whole array was like a giant pouch, tightly imprisoning what was stored inside, only to be released at need. This kind of array was not hard for him. In just a few days, it was complete and refined into a palm-sized formation disk. Once activated, the disk powered the array, which generated a vast suction, drawing in all the foul air and remaining pus in the chaotic space. Absorption was not fast. Though the pus now had no master, it felt almost merged with chaos itself and could only be drawn away little by little. Especially the pus, which seemed to grow claws, clinging tightly to space. 10 whole days were spent, and only then was the void cleared. Lin Moyu could sense the pressure inside the formation. One could imagine that, if this was unleashed, any chaos race would have a headache. Placing the disk away, Lin Moyu flew toward the cross-domain array. After previous study, he now knew for sure the array was truly split into 5. Now all 5 remnants were gathered. What was left was the repair work. Repairing arrays was never difficult for him, it just took time. The real headache was how to place the fixed cross-domain array back into a space fissure. After much thought, Lin Moyu decided to rely on the Eastern Extreme Dragon Python's spatial talent for aid. First, repair the array. Arriving at the array, he observed from outside the defense, analyzing its inner workings. After years dealing with the Grand Array, Lin Moyu now possessed deep mastery. Cracking it was much easier than before. Even though this was the core segment, with far stronger defense, it could not block Lin Moyu. After studying, chaotic runes whirled out, merging into the array. Its defense gradually lost effect, opening a gateway for Lin Moyu. Through the runes, he turned himself into half-owner of the array. Passing through the defense, a familiar aura washed over him, and Lin Moyu gave a small exclamation. He found that within the core of the cross-domain array, there were traces of the Catastrophic Supreme. And not just traces. His analysis showed the entire main body was arranged by the Catastrophic Supreme, then layered with heavy disguises to finally become the Grand Array as it exists now. If not for his intimate knowledge of both the Grand Array and the Catastrophic Supreme's style, no one would have found these differences. Lin Moyu double-checked carefully and finally confirmed. The core of this array was crafted by the Catastrophic Supreme, later overlaid by another Supreme, and disguised to form the current Grand Array. The Catastrophic Supreme was too ancient, and having had Tao erase all trace, so very few knew about him. No one guessed that the core of the cross-domain array was in fact his handiwork. This gave Lin Moyu an answer. So at that time, it really was badly wounded. The erasure became incomplete, otherwise all things regarding the Catastrophic Supreme should have vanished. This was the Catastrophic Supreme's experiment, in fact, a message to others: Tao is not invincible. Lin Moyu suddenly understood. Back then, the Catastrophic Supreme had smashed Tao fiercely with the Catastrophe Scepter, inflicting injury on Tao. Just how severe, only the Supreme himself could know, yet he used other means to let allies gauge Tao's wound. His method was deceptively simple: leave traces. Some obvious and uncovered, others carefully hidden. If all traces were erased, it would mean Tao had not taken serious damage, and to defeat it would be nearly impossible. But if some disguised marks persisted unerased, then the wound was deep. The Catastrophe Scepter could threaten Tao, and killing Tao would be possible. Clearly, the Supreme succeeded. Some camouflage traces persisted to this day, sending the message. Their path could work. There is truly a chance to kill Tao. Lin Moyu was certain the Supreme hadn't left only one such trace, but many such as the Great Array with the Divine Phoenix clan, whose ancestor was also an ally of the Supreme. And Lin Moyu's next destination, another Grand Array left in the Eastern Extreme. Steadying his thoughts, Lin Moyu began repairing the array. Third Elder had given much material for this job. Fortunately, the damage was not as severe as he'd feared. the third elder's materials were more than enough. Lin Moyu traced the array step by step, refining materials and fixing the array. He reinstalled the 4 sub-arrays, linking them anew to restore the whole. It was intricate work, not just runes, but also connecting diverse materials. Any mistakes in runes, material, or other details would degrade the array's effectiveness. In worst cases, transmission could fail or misplace travelers. Since this was his escape route, Lin Moyu made sure to be meticulous. Chaos was utterly silent, except for misty Kai flowing. Countless Daos silently crossed the void, with no apparent origin or end. 5 centuries slipped by soundlessly, as Lin Moyu focused wholly on restoring the array, never distracted. The process let him master every detail of the cross-domain grand array. With enough material, he now believed he could set up a brand new one himself. Unknowingly, his formation skill had reached new heights. How high, he couldn't say, but likely stronger than many full completion array masters. Finally, after 500 years, it was complete. Upon activation, the core of the array flashed faintly, and the defense automatically came online without Lin Moyu triggering it. He was surprised. At that moment, the Catastrophic Supreme's voice resounded in his mind. Come. Chapter 43:65, Levels of Power. Upon suddenly hearing the Catastrophic Supreme's voice, Lin Moyu was at once surprised, and yet felt it natural. He followed the direction indicated, which was the very core of the cross-domain grand array, a location he knew, from previous study, to have been arranged by the Catastrophic Supreme. Now, with the Supreme appearing, this confirmed his earlier deduction. Lin Moyu was in a good mood. His judgment on the formation was verified, showing his own progress in array arts. The cross-domain grand array's defensive system was completely activated. Layers upon layers of defenses shut out the outside world. But even this was not enough to fool Dao. Lin Moyu did not know what the Catastrophic Supreme left here or why he dared to do so, but figured there must be a method to it. Coming to the array's core and bathed in faint light, Lin Moyu sensed a peculiar aura, ancient, somewhat similar to the power of the primordial worms, and clearly not native to today's chaos. A formless power enveloped Lin Moyu. He did not resist, letting it draw him in. He sank slowly, the spot below his feet feeling like a marsh gently pulled down by invisible force, vanishing in the blink of an eye. Layer after layer of light passed over him, each a formation. At the heart of the grand array, hundreds of ancient and powerful formations were hidden. Any one, though not large, was comparable in grade to the cross-domain array itself, and all bore a common trait. They were set by the Catastrophic Supreme. At last, Lin Moyu's feet touched the ground, and he saw a statue featureless, identical to that within the boat of deliverance, and unmistakably the Catastrophic Supreme. The statue glimmered as a deep voice said, "We meet again." Lin Moyu chuckled, "Indeed, we meet again. Aren't you afraid you'll be discovered appearing like this?" The Catastrophic Supreme laughed. "If I were to be found, it would have happened long ago. That fellow took a heavy wound." The Supreme's answer matched Lin Moyu's speculation. "So, your side's chances are not low." "No, not your side, our chances," the Supreme corrected. Lin Moyu didn't argue, but asked, "You've waited so long for me, is it just to say these things?" The statue stirred, an arm pointing to one side. "Look there." A powerful formation unfolded, radiating a strong spatial aura. It looked only the size of a fist, yet the internal space was astonishingly vast. The formation revealed a glimpse of what lay inside a titanic primordial worm sprawled within, its aura leaking out oppressively. Lin Moyu instantly realized what had drawn all the primordial worms, making them abandon their homeland to invade chaos. Their root was here. The formation held a slumbering, full completion-level primordial worm. Clearly, it had been trapped inside for countless years, and the culprit was the Catastrophic Supreme. Yet this worm gave Lin Moyu a sense of something uncommon. He frowned. This primordial worm is different. The Supreme said, "Of course it's different. Primordial worms belong half to the ancient wilds, so unlike ordinary chaos creatures. Can you see what's off about it?" Lin Moyu projected a thread of soul into the formation. The Supreme did not obstruct him. Closely observing, Lin Moyu soon found the answer. It doesn't have a domain. Surprised, Lin Moyu noted that, normally, in chaos, all creatures and cultivated beings needed a domain to achieve full completion. Yet here was a primordial worm that, domainless, still reached full completion, a true mystery. There could only be one explanation, its ancient wild side. The Supreme's low laugh rumbled. "Correct, they have no domain. You probably think it's because of power from the ancient wilds." "Isn't it?" Lin Moyu asked. "There's a reason for that," said the Supreme, "but it's not the whole story. A primordial worm is so called because it holds a thread of primordial force. That is why it can break certain rules of chaos. To understand this, you must first comprehend levels of power." At last, Lin Moyu understood the true point of the Supreme leaving these signs. He wanted to impart crucial information. Listening with full attention, anything the Supreme risked so much to say was certainly not simple. The deep voice echoed in the array space. The statue seemed to come alive, a mighty Supreme lecturing in person. "I once told you, I am you and you are not me." This answer remained unclear, and Lin Moyu realized he lacked the qualifications to understand for now. In chaos, there is surface and there is interior. The interior is the domains. All power inside, be it worlds or spaces, counts as interior. Power within domains belongs to the constrained heavenly Tao. The surface, though also called the Great Tao, is the chaotic Great Tao. Upon reaching chaos cultivation, one must undergo transformation. Only then can they safely roam the void. Of the many effects of this transformation, one is to convert the cultivator's domain Tao into the chaos Tao. When domains have owners, their power nature changes, and they too undergo chaosification. The Taos within domains absorb the properties of the chaotic Great Tao, making growth and cultivation in those domains much easier, aiding the leap into chaos evolution. Ranking all power from weak to strong, the lowest level is the domain Tao. The second level is the chaotic Tao, held by all chaos-level beings. The third level, which we call the supreme law or supreme rule, belongs solely to supremes. How strong the supreme law is you'll know if you ever become one. I once ascended through 9 refinements, standing at the supreme summit, thinking myself the most powerful, able to go anywhere in chaos or the ancient wilds, until I learned of its existence. Its power is the 4th level. We don't know its real name, but we call it Tao Law, Chinese letter. Here Lin Moyu finally understood the real system of power. He had pondered this for long, never finding a clear answer. Now he had clarity. Anything below the domain Tao didn't interest the catastrophic Supreme. The Supreme wasn't finished, but Tao Law is not the end. We've discovered yet a higher level. Chapter 43:66. You have a chance. The power of Tao is not the end. There are even higher levels of power. When the catastrophic Supreme spoke of us, it hinted that he was not alone in these discoveries. In Lin Moyu's mind, the power exceeding Tao had to refer to the catastrophic scepter, but he remained silent. Now was the time to listen. Here the catastrophic Supreme seemed utterly unafraid that Tao could overhear him. His deep voice echoed, recounting an ancient tale. If one dares to question why in anything, and luck is not too bad, one will always find some clues. Our luck was good. As we searched and pondered, we discovered hints. The first thing we discovered was this fellow. The Supreme was speaking of the primordial worm, which remained imprisoned, shining mysteriously within the formation. The wisp of Lin Moyu's soul that had entered the array was already gone. Inside that formation, a unique power ensured his soul couldn't linger. The name primordial worm is one we gave it. In that era, it had another name, but that's now lost and not worth mentioning. Within its body is a force called primordial power. This force seems to blend the ancient wilds and chaos, its level and strength both unique. Precisely because of this power, a primordial worm can achieve full completion without relying on a domain. We studied this for a long time before finally figuring out how to extract that primordial force. But the process is slow and tricky, requiring certain conditions. Can you guess how? Lin Moyu thought for a moment, using the cross-domain grand array. Haha, so you did guess part of it. The primordial worms have a dual affinity for the ancient wilds and chaos, and their primordial force arises from that. When the cross-domain grand array is activated and traverses the border of the ancient wilds, the array's power will incite the worms, causing them instinctively to release some primordial force. Lin Moyu nodded slightly. The cross-domain grand array had existed for countless years, its core arranged by the Catastrophic Supreme clearly for more than simple cross-border travel. The Supreme was a strategist who never made things simple. The deep voice continued, even after this discovery, we could not be sure it would evade Tao. A real test was needed, but such an experiment came with sacrifices. It could cost lives, it could not be done lightly. I alone had the right, only I could do it. Lin Moyu understood the Supreme had challenged Tao, risking all to test its abilities. So I did it. It was heavily injured, and my hidden methods here passed undetected. Later, I started harvesting primordial power from the worm and concealed myself even more deeply, making it even less likely for it to notice. This power is the fourth layer. With power of this level, one can stand level with it, but killing it is still not enough. We found more of this level in the ancient wilds, but none sufficient to destroy it. In the end, we determined only that thing can kill it. Everything else is just supplementary, icing on the cake. At this point, Lin Moyu took out the catastrophic scepter, the fifth layer. Yes, the fifth layer, the Supreme responded. It transcends chaos and the ancient wilds. It exceeds Tao law, but even then it is only a chance. Just look at me. In the end, I still failed. So it is a key, not the sole solution. The crucial part is you. Now the statue moved again, its head dropped low, its empty face seemingly sprouting eyes, which stared intently at Lin Moyu. The Supreme's voice became heavier. We have a hope, do you know what it is? Lin Moyu had an idea but still shook his head. I don't know. The Supreme seemed not to believe him. You have surely guessed. Lin Moyu said, it's even harder that way. It may be difficult, but it must be tried, and you've already started. We have prepared. We've waited countless years for this shot. We won't give it up easily. You have completed 9 refinements, possess 9 domains, and have this scepter. You truly have a chance. If others could do it, we believe you can too. Lin Moyu understood fully. To kill Tao, the catastrophic scepter was essential, as only its level surpassed Tao. But the scepter was not the only way. Ideally, one would not depend only on an external item. And even to bring out the scepter's power, being a supreme wasn't enough, one had to take the next step. This didn't only mean a higher cultivation, but pushing one's power beyond the third layer, at least reaching the same level as Tao law. Only then could one face Tao. This was extremely difficult. There was hope, but only hope. The Supreme went on, your chaotic transformation is special. You won't be influenced like me. That's why you have a chance. It's hard, but there is a chance. He could accept past failures, but was still unwilling in his heart. He was the pinnacle of chaos, no prouder figure, and yet, how could he accept defeat? If he had to fight and die, so be it. Even in defeat, he would not accept submission to Tao. He lost the first round, now was the second. He believed he still had a shot at victory. Lin Moyu said, I will do my best. There's still much I don't understand, but I'll work it all out. And in one thing, I am like you, I don't like anyone pressing on me from above. The Supreme chuckled, if there is, then overturn him. I will, Lin Moyu nodded. Very well, let's move on about the primordial worm's force. I've been absorbing it for ages. Even so, it's still not enough. In the 3 domains, 4 extremes, and the deepest ancient wilds, I set up 12 great arrays. Once activated, their power will be staggering. How strong, I cannot say, but it will at least trouble it. You must find and seize all the remaining arrays. There should be guardians, but after so many years, changes may have arisen, and people may have changed. The heart is fickle. You must also be wary. Lin Moyu laughed. Just like this cross-domain array, right? How did you know I'd come to the eastern extreme first? The Supreme said, it involves karma and destiny, so our preparations weren't wasted. Now you know what you must. My mission is finished. This is yours now. With those words, a spatial rift opened beside the statue. The statue entered it and vanished. Lin Moyu looked at the rift, sighing to himself. The mission may be over, but the work is far from done. Chapter 43:67, Taking Back What Is Yours. This time, the Catastrophic Supreme wanted to explain to Lin Moyu how the layers of power within chaos are divided, making everything plain and simple. At the same time, he told Lin Moyu exactly what kind of enemy he would one day face, an existence that surpasses all supremes, that rules over chaos, and is undoubtedly the strongest peerless in chaos. Even if there were other powers at that tier, they would merely be at the same level, never truly an equal. The Catastrophic Scepter is the only thing that stands above it, and the Catastrophic Supreme and his allies were not simply scheming to use the scepter to kill it, but also to let Lin Moyu himself transcend chaos, at the very least, surpass it in power. Lin Moyu knew how difficult this was, but it seemed that fate and causality had destined him to take this road. If he ever gave up, he knew he would die, not just by Tao, but even the other Supremes who plotted alongside the Catastrophic Supreme would never let him go. From the very beginning, Lin Moyu knew he was already on a pirate ship. Unless he died, he could never get off. Gazing upon the spatial array imprisoning the primordial worm, Lin Moyu began to draw chaos runes with his fingers, imprinting them one by one. From this point on, the cross-domain grand array would completely belong to him. Not just this one, but the one in Lin Dengcheng would also come under his control. The Catastrophic Supreme arranged a total of 12 arrays, 3 domains, 4 extremes, and the ancient wilds make 8, plus the 4 cross-domain arrays leading from the central domain to the 4 extremes, making 12 in total. But is it really just 12? Lin Moyu felt there could be more. Chaos is simply too vast, and with the ancient wilds too, not even such arrays could cover all of chaos unless these arrays don't need to cover all of chaos. That's it, Lin Moyu realized. The Catastrophic Supreme set these arrays not to cover chaos or the ancient wilds, but to focus chaos and wild power to gather the strongest strike. This single blow may be his last-ditch supreme attack. Even if defeated back then, he still wanted Tao to know, I have more moves. Even if I can't beat you, I won't make it easy for you. Moreover, Lin Moyu knew these arrays would benefit himself as well, so he had to seek them out. As Lin Moyu continued fusing chaos runes into the grand array's core, his status slowly changed. He was beginning to truly master this cross-domain array. Only now did he realize his earlier worries were baseless. The cross-domain grand array itself had an internal spatial formation. Simply by using this, he could completely hide himself. Not only could he disappear, but he could also directly link to the Lin Dengcheng Mother Array. The cross-domain grand array is a set. Lin Dengcheng's is the mother, that in the eastern extreme is the child. Lin Moyu activated the array. First, he hid within a spatial rift, masking his presence. Next, he started connecting to the Lin Dengcheng Mother Array. It took time, but the array would automatically search for the connection. When it was finished, the central domain, Eastern Extreme Cross-Domain Array was fully restored and his mission completed. He could even use the array to return to Lin Dengcheng directly. Lin Moyu understood, though, that only after the array was fully restored could he truly operate. He could only do the real work here, not in Lin. If he tried, it would be suicide. So he would use the child array here to control the mother array there, invisibly making himself the master of this cross-domain gateway. For eons, untold people had used the grand array. It had always been held by the central domain's divine alliance, everyone believing its owner to be that domain's supreme. But in fact, the array never truly had a master. With the Catastrophic Supreme's formation at its core, its real master could only be Lin Moyu. The child array kept searching for the mother. Through a unique invisible power, it reached across the void, sweeping through the ages. Chaos is huge, but the mother and child arrays are innately connected and would always find each other. Lin Moyu waited patiently, pondering something else. The Catastrophic Supreme said they had found quite a few fourth-level powers, some artifacts, some other things. The Boat of Deliverance was one. Lin Moyu thought the Icy Jade meditation mat might be as well, as was the world-burning fire. Now he felt sure the mysterious master and the Catastrophic Supreme were surely linked. But were these treasures truly naturally born? The Catastrophic Supreme once said to him that these treasures should be naturally formed. But now Lin Moyu wasn't so sure. Maybe even the Supreme himself didn't know. If not naturally formed, then where did they come from? Surely such treasures once had owners. Who could they have been? Anyone moving freely in the ancient wilds at minimum would be full completion, maybe even a Supreme. But where were these beings now? Had they fallen? If so, who killed them? Could it have been Dao too? Lin Moyu grew more and more puzzled. This mysterious presence clouded over chaos like a dark mist, blocking everyone's path to truth. What was chaos and the ancient wilds like before its appearance? Who is the true master of the Catastrophic Scepter? With a roar, the cross-domain grand array shook violently, breaking Lin Moyu's thought. His eyes glinted sharply, found it time to act. The Lin Mother array had finally been located and linked to the child array. With a wave, Lin Moyu sent out countless chaos runes. He had prepared long before, observing the mother array in Lin Dengcheng. While he hadn't fully grasped it then, he'd memorized the essentials, and along with the Supreme's information, he now knew how to quietly take control. He acted carefully, masking himself with runes, believing, unless a Supreme showed up personally, no one could trace his work. And since the Central Domain Supreme and the Catastrophic Supreme were allied, neither would interfere. Lin Moyu felt no guilt. He did not see himself as stealing, but rather taking what was rightfully his. After all, it was prepared for him by the Catastrophic Supreme. Were he strong enough, he might even boldly return to claim it openly. In the Central Domain, at Lin Dengcheng, the third elder had stood watch a long time, when suddenly the entire city shook as if collapsing. Far from fear, the elder was delighted. It's done. He howled with joy, took out a formation disc, activated it, and shouted, "It's done, it's done." Chapter 43:68. Now this is proper. The excited third elder sent news of the cross-domain grand array's restoration back home. The passage from the central domain to the eastern extreme had been reconnected. Those who had the qualifications could once again travel between the two realms via the domain array. If a war were to break out between the central domain and the eastern extreme, the central domain would no longer be at a strategic disadvantage. At the same time, many cultivators from the central domain who were currently in the eastern extreme, most of whom had traveled there using the cross-domain array and carried a small guidance array disk, now found those disks glowing once again. These disks were used to locate the cross-domain grand array and facilitate their return to the central domain. Previously, when the grand array was damaged, the disks became useless. Now, with the array's restoration, they signaled the cultivators that they could go home without crossing the perilous wild scar. Each guidance disk was soul-bound to its user. No one else could use it, effectively ensuring the secrecy of the cross-domain array. Many immediately headed toward the eastern extreme's grand array, following the disk's lead. At this moment, Lin Moyu was naturally the busiest. Using the connection between the mother and child arrays, he injected chaotic runes from the child into the mother array, slowly seizing control. The hardest part was that he couldn't see the mother array and was groping blind, sensing out the path. He could not hurry, lest he expose himself, because if the divine alliance of the central domain discovered his meddling, things would get complicated. The first wave of chaotic runes formed a tiny, hidden formation within the mother array, acting as Lin Moyu's eyes. Through this formation, he surveyed the mother array's situation, and after confirming its location, sent over even more chaotic runes. Several elders of the Divine Alliance checked on the array and even used it, sending people back and forth between the central domain and the eastern extreme. After several successful transfers, they all confirmed that the Grand Array had been restored. Yet Lin Moyu, who was actually repairing the array, had long vanished without a trace. Hidden in the child array's core region, those who came searching never found a thing. A few elders were puzzled, but had no way to resolve their doubts. Dozens of years passed. Central domain cultivators successfully located the child array and returned with ease. On the surface, everything was back to normal. No one realized that in Lin Dengcheng, the cross-domain Grand Array's ownership had quietly changed hands. After a full century, Lin Moyu sent out the last rune, sending it smoothly through the spatial conduit into the mother array. In Lin Moyu's soul world, a shadow of the mother-child Grand Array suddenly appeared, confirming Lin Moyu as the true master. That shadow soon shrank into a single point of light within his soul, able to change size at his command. Then more and more such light points began to appear, connecting together in a complex, gleaming pattern. There were 12 in total, each representing one of the arrays left by the Catastrophic Supreme. Staring at the lights, Lin Moyu murmured, 12 dots, 12 arrays, 2 are already mine, their lights are on, 10 more remain dark. But from its structure, the true core is located in the ancient wilds, with the hub in the central domain. It's ingenious, worthy of him, such extraordinary planning. The core of the formation was hidden in the ancient wilds, the one place even Tao could not touch, making it the safest sanctuary. The arrays manipulated chaos itself, with each domain and extreme as focus, all coordinated through the central domain's 4 cross-domain transport arrays. As Lin Moyu thought before, these teleport arrays were not as simple as they seemed. This was the Catastrophic Supreme's grand scheme. But with time and concealment, the truth had been lost to most. He looked at the light points. Finally, his attention landed on the farthest one, the great array set by the Catastrophic Supreme in the ancient wilds, still unclaimed. If I'm right, the power accumulated by all these arrays over countless years should be gathered there. Maybe Tiangxuzi or the Divine Phoenix ancestor went there. If not, then they're here. Lin Moyu pointed at a spot in the void. Another light appeared, one he lit himself. With this 13th light, the scheme felt truly complete. Lin Moyu smiled. Now this is proper. In his view, the Supreme hadn't just made 12 arrays, there should be 13. With 12, the power was full. With 13, it could easily be doubled or tripled. This might explain where Tiangxuzi and others went. The Supreme surely set up other contingencies, and others had their roles to play. This was an ancient contest, cultivators versus Tao, in which Lin Moyu was the main force, but he would not be alone in the field. Having finished, Lin Moyu muttered, "Time to go." The plan now called for him to head deep into the eastern extreme, locate the Supreme's legacy array, and take control of it. He didn't need to return to Lin Dengcheng for this. Before leaving, Lin Moyu upgraded his guidance array disk. He gave it teleportation power. A single use could carry him 1,000,000,000 li, with targeting set to the cross-domain array's location. In a crisis, he could use it to escape. That distance was plenty. Unless the enemy was a spatial talent wielder, few could catch him. To go deep into the eastern extreme as a central domain cultivator was dangerously risky. Lin Moyu took every precaution. Next, he brought out the core's seeking ring, flooding it with soul force to activate. Effect without cause. Find the Catastrophic Supreme's great array in the eastern extreme. The ring flashed, and a surge of power swept over Lin Moyu. He braced for the backlash and even death. But all at once, the force died down. It was gone in an instant. Startled, Lin Moyu mumbled, "It failed." This was the first time he'd ever seen the cause-seeking ring fail. His information was good. Why would it fail now? Thinking for a moment, he realized the answer. The cause-seeking ring looks for causality, but what if the cause was erased? It would naturally find nothing. The cross-domain array had been used for countless years, which is why the ring could always pinpoint it. But this array, he didn't even know its exact name or nature. The ring couldn't help. Headache. Chaos was vast. Lin Moyu only knew a rough direction, with no idea how to search further. Still, if he pressed ahead, at least he had a lead, and where there's a will, there's a way. Maybe the situation with the Divine Phoenix clan will offer clues. With that, Lin Moyu stepped outside the cross-domain array. As its master, he was free to teleport within its entire territory. The array's zone was empty. Lin Moyu released the eastern extreme dragon pythons, and Little Peng sat atop Little Peng and pointed a direction. Go. This where the chapter end, and here comes my analysis for these chapters. The soul-severing needle flashed 3 times. Chuan Dragon Python, a full completion powerhouse who had lived for countless eons, drifted lifeless in the void. His domain shattered into fragments that scattered across chaos, each piece carrying the seeds of new worlds. But Lin Moyu wasn't finished. Corpse explosion. The detonation tore through billions of li, shredding space itself. The 3 greater completion lieutenants died instantly. Lin Moyu died 3 times before the blast subsided. When he reformed, the undying fire was already burning, claiming the corpses as his own. And in that moment, he felt it. A will, watching, erasing the very memory of its presence from the flow of time. Someone or something had taken notice. The hunt for the array fragments continued. 4 pieces scattered across the eastern extreme, each guarded by dragon pythons who had claimed them as their own. But the 4th fragment held a surprise. Primordial worms, creatures born at the border of the ancient wilds, whose pus could corrupt bloodlines, taint DAOs, and reduce cultivators to shadows of their former selves. Thousands of them, feasting on the array's power, their very presence poisoning everything they touched. Even Lin Moyu's undead were not immune. Once polluted, their strength never returned, not even through death and rebirth. But the world-burning fire. It consumed the primordial force completely. Lin Moyu's eyes sharpened. The fire his mysterious master had given him was no ordinary flame. It operated on a level beyond even the Tao itself. And that raised questions he could not yet answer. 5 centuries of repair work. 5 centuries studying every rune, every material, every hidden layer of the cross-domain array. And when it was complete, a voice echoed in his mind. Come! The Catastrophic Supreme's statue awaited him at the array's core, hidden behind hundreds of formations, untouched by Tao for countless ages. What followed was a lesson in the true nature of power. First layer, Domain Tao, the power within worlds. Second layer, Chaotic Tao, the power of chaos beings. Third layer, Supreme Law, the power of supremes. Fourth layer, Tao Law, the power that rules all. And beyond even that, the 5th layer, the level of the catastrophic scepter itself. The Supreme's voice grew heavy. We have a chance. You have completed 9 refinements. You possess 9 domains. You carry the scepter. If anyone can do it, you can. 12 arrays, 3 domains, 4 extremes, the ancient wilds, and 4 cross-domain gateways connecting them all, each secretly built upon the Catastrophic Supreme's original work. Lin Moyu spent another century seizing control. From the child array in the eastern extreme, He reached across the void to the mother array in Lin Dengcheng, invisible, untraceable, silent. When he finished, a constellation of 13 light points blazed in his soul. 12 arrays left by the Supreme. One added by Lin Moyu himself. Now this is proper. The cause-seeking ring flared, then fell silent. For the first time, it found nothing. The Catastrophic Supreme's final Eastern Extreme Array had no causal trace, no history, no connection to anything Lin Moyu knew. Somewhere in this burning, violent land, a formation of ultimate power waits, guarded by forces even the ring cannot track. But if causality cannot find it, what will? And when Lin Moyu finally stands before that array, will he find a weapon waiting, or a trap set by something that has waited even longer than the Supreme himself? If these revelations about power levels, primordial threats, and the true scope of the Catastrophic Supreme's design have you hungry for more, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for Extreme Highlights audio novels. We bring you the most explosive moments from the novels you love, delivered straight to your ears. New chapters drop daily, so you'll never miss a beat of Lin Moyu's journey through chaos. Extreme Highlights audio novels, where stories come alive.